John Pagano. I was born in December 28th, 1985. I was serving in the United States Marine Corps. I did 6 years from 2006, April 2006 to April 2012. I was 20 years old. Why?
Why? Yeah.
I was just felt very like serving the country was something that you should do. Growing up, I always looked up to service members.
So you were how many years out of high school when you went in?
I was 2 years out of high school. I was actually enrolled in St. B. College.
Oh, really?
In 2005 when I decided to join.
Did any of your friends, you talked to any of your friends about enlisting, and were any of them interested?
Not really. My friends kind of scattered after high school. I had a girlfriend, and things were getting rough, so we just kind of broke it off when we decided to go in and do our own things.
Mm-hmm. What did your family think about your enlisting in the United States Marine Corps?
They were very surprised. They were thinking I was going to be an airman at first because I said I was going into there, and then I told them I was going to see the Army recruiter, and then I didn't tell them about it was actually the Marine Corps until the day I left for boot camp.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't want them to be too anxious about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I told them, and they were proud of me.
They were proud of you?
Yes.
Yeah.
A little worried, but.
What did your mother say?
My mother cried. She, especially when I left for boot camp, was actually 2 weeks prior than the planned date because somebody hopped the bus or they dropped out last minute and they needed someone to fill the seat. So I said, okay, I'll go.
What about your father?
My father he's always been pretty cool, strong character. So he supported me and he's a very strong person.
Why do you think your mother cried?
She knew she wouldn't be seeing me for a while, and I have two younger brothers, so they were there, but firstborn.
What do they think about your enlisting in the Marine Corps?
They were sad that I left. They still tell me today that it was kind of crap that I was just gone. They weren't really expecting it, and that I was gone. The first day, you can take a bus in, and then as soon as you show up, they're screaming at you to get off the bus and get on these yellow footprints. And basically, the first day, they take away everything you have, all your possessions, and cut your hair, and it's sort of like a rebirth process.
Like a what?
A rebirth process.
A rebirth process.
Yes. So they take everything away, and then they give you these green skivvies, a t-shirt and some shorts, and that's all you got for the first 2 days. And then they shave your head and you're bald, and I had hair down to my middle of my ear at the time. I didn't feel like cutting it because I knew they were gonna get rid of it all.
What do you remember about it?
Basic training was interesting for me. I spent 5 months in basic training instead of the required 3 because when I first started, I was overweight. So on the initial pickup day, I wasn't picked up. I had to get dropped to a weight control platoon. Took me about 2 weeks to get into shape, 2-3 weeks.
What was that like?
It was really rough. Very regimented. Every day you're doing workouts, and your diet strictly regulated.
So what time do your day start?
Days, I think, always started at 5 a.m. and usually get up and either PT or you go get food and then you go out and PT, physical training.
So what were they feeding you?
For me, it was mostly salads and cottage cheese. Nothing, no starches, no sugars.
Man.
So it was a lot of salad. I went in at about 2:35-ish, and I got down to about 2:10, and had put on enough muscle to where I could pass an initial physical training test.
So that took you 2 weeks to drop 20 pounds?
2 or 3 weeks, and then I was cycled in. I had to go through another pickup, initial PFD, and then I got picked up by a 2nd Battalion platoon hotel company, I believe it was, and they
Where
picked me up.
was this? What city?
Oh, we were in Parris Island, South Carolina.
South Carolina. So after like 3 or 4 weeks, you got with a platoon.
Yep.
So describe that. Describe the first day you got to that.
It was a great relief because when I first got drafted, I had to give my parents a call and tell them that my graduation date had been changed, and you couldn't really talk to them. There's a drill instructor staring at you. You're given a script, and that's the only contact you could get.
They give you a script to talk to your parents?
Yes.
So how did the script go?
Oh, it was something like, "Hello, sir, ma'am. This is Recruit Pagano. Calling you to inform you that my graduation date has changed. It'll be blah blah blah." So, and then when I got picked up, I was able to give them my new. I had to call again and say my new graduation date. So that was a good feeling. The 2nd hotel company, I was there until after the rifle range. There's an event called the Crucible, and it's basically 4 days in the field, shooting and hiking and obstacle courses. And I was at this long obstacle course, simulated fire and stuff like that, and I was underneath some barbed wire when I dislocated my shoulder for the first time. And,
How did that happen?
I was just reaching wrong. I actually I think I had previously injured it falling from another obstacle, and then it finally dislocated when I was crawling underneath barbed wire, and I had to get pulled out and then sent to the medics, and they had to
reset
my shoulder.
So how long did it take to heal and get back onto
that
training?
Took the additional. It took about a month, a little over a month, to get me back to the point where I could do pull-ups with my shoulder.
So then you had to call your parents again and
yes,
extend your graduation?
It was very upsetting, but as soon as I got back, then it was, sort of second nature. I actually got recycled like a week before where I was, back to, I think it's training day 180, and so at a week, and I'd already been to the Crucible for a couple days, so I knew what was going on, and then some of the other guys looked to me for some knowledge as to what's happening, and I was actually able to get through it all this time, and
the Crucible.
Yes.
So you got through the Crucible, and then what happened?
Got to get all the way to graduation, and
so describe that graduation date.
Graduation date. By the time I reached graduation, I had actually lost even more weight. I was down to 190 pounds, and
you're mean and lean.
I was very lean, and yes. My parents said they didn't recognize me, and when I finally caught up to them and said, "Hey, it's me," they're like, "Oh, you looked so skinny, and they thought I'd like been through a concentration camp. That's how skinny I was.
But by this time you were dressed in your
Yes,
Marine
I
Corps.
was in my uniform,
Oh, fantastic.
in my
So
Charlies.
that was still at Paris Island?
Yes.
Okay.
In the basic training, I actually ran into one of the guys that I went to the Boy Scouts with, actually, and he was in the medical hull platoon with me when I was healing with my shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
He had actually joined a couple months after me, so it was interesting. It was nice to see a friendly face,
Mm-hmm.
and I got recycled before him, so I didn't see him for too long, but he got through it and continued on his Marine Corps career.
Any particular drill sergeants stick out in your mind as making an impression on you?
There's a few of them. They have different types of drill instructors. There's a senior drill instructor, and then what they call a drill hat, and then a kill hat. And the drill hat is the sort of training guy, teaches you more, and the kill hat's there to kill you, to mess you up, to make sure you're running and yell at you and stuff like that. I mean, they all do it, but that guy, his main job is to do that. And I had a Sergeant Gonzalez he really didn't like me because he probably was only as tall as my chest, and he made me get on my knees so that he could spit in my face and yell at me.
So in the end, when you graduated, did you see him?
Yes, of course. Once you get through the graduation, you know, they're all friendly and shaking your hand and congratulating you, and they're proud of you.
So the one that was shorter than you, he finally shook your hand?
Yes, it was interesting. The next thing I did was I had a very technical MOS, my occupational school,
Mm-hmm.
and I did. It's called Tactical Data Systems Administration, and basically the computers for keeping track of all the planes that the Navy and the Marine Corps use. I learned how to service, repair, install, and maintain those computers so that the commander could have full control over the air war, know exactly where everything is. They could tell, you know, what plane was which, what ammo it had on it, how many missiles, that sort of stuff through these computers.
Mm-hmm.
And the radar. So I had to learn. It took 10 months of schooling out in the desert in 29 Palms, California.
Whereabouts, California?
29 Palms.
Mm-hmm. So you're out there for 10 months?
10 months. There's nothing out there. It's pretty just in the middle of the desert, big training. They do tank movements out there and artillery. There's an artillery range, so it's one of the biggest bases the Marine Corps has, but there's nothing on it because it's mostly range. And then there's the comm school, communication school, where I went for 10 months.
So what was your day like in your schooling?
In schooling, it was usually get up, sort of clean up the room, then you go to formation, and depending on what season it was, we'd either do afternoon PT or morning PT. We'd either have a PT formation in the morning and go run or exercise, or down to the gym, or we'd go to school for, till a little bit till like 11. Then we'd go PT, then we'd go to chow, and then we'd go back to school till about 6. So it was a lot of training, a lot of schooling.
Mm-hmm. Did you get any time off during the 10 months?
They give you the weekends, and normally the students at that school aren't allowed to have their own vehicles, but because it's supposed to be 10 months to a year, we were allowed to get vehicles, and I was one of the first people to do so because I did not like being in the desert, and it was a 3-hour, 4-hour drive to California to LA, and one of my bunkmate actually had a girlfriend out in Long Beach. So usually on the weekends we would make that drive whenever we could to the real world. It's always nice.
So after your 10 months training, then where did you go?
Then I went to Miramar, California. It's the air base that's, have you ever seen the movie Top Gun?
Mm-hmm.
That's the air base. That's Miramar, California. And that's where I went. And we.
How long were you there?
I was there for about 2 years, in the middle of which I deployed to Iraq for 7 months.
You did what? Oh, you went to Iraq.
Yes, with that unit.
Okay.
And in Miramar, they have a unit, MTACS, Marine Tactical Air Control Systems, our squadron. And we basically, like I said, we put up the computers that monitor the air war. And we did several operations out in the desert again, actually in Arizona and Mojave. Mojave Viper, and there's another operation that was in Arizona. Can't remember what it's called.
So you basically were training on operations to be able to do the same thing when you got to Iraq?
Yes.
Yeah. So so you were there for 2 years?
Yeah, that unit, yes.
Okay. So then, but you got deployed to Iraq. Tell us about that.
Iraq was pretty interesting. When you go there, you have to you fly into Kuwait in a 747 or 757, big old jet, and then you get on to a C-130, this little cargo plane with prop engines, and they fly you into Iraq, but they have to do what's called a combat landing. So you fly up, like here's the landing strip, usually you go down and land. They fly up high and then go straight down and then land in order to avoid getting fired at by mortars or machine guns. One of our big jobs was to get the information from the Air Force, because they fly at higher altitudes than the Marines do, and make sure that when they're landing, we don't have planes in their way, and vice versa. So airspace deconflictation was a big job, and we had to go.
So were you monitoring like a civilian air controller?
It was similar to that. Well, I wasn't actually monitoring it. I was more of, they have operators who actually monitor it. I'm more of the maintenance guy for the system, and make sure that it's working and make sure it's getting the information correctly.
So what kind of computers did you work on?
Everything from Microsoft Windows 2000 computer, but then we had servers that had to connect to each other. We had Windows, I think it was Windows 2003 servers, and they talked to a Linux server, Sun System server. So it's two different languages, and they all had to talk together, and then they talk to the radars, and it's a lot of stuff going on at once.
Did you experience any combat?
I did not experience any
in Iraq?
Combat per se.
Were you around it? Could you hear it?
Not really. Luckily, my job is on the base in the command center.
What city were you in?
We were in Camp Al-Assad, Iraq. Before I had left, I had actually during Marine Corps martial arts training, I had re-injured my shoulder from when I had initially hurt it during boot camp. But I got them to let me stay, finish out the deployment, but I was waking up in Iraq with my shoulder out of socket, things like that. So
you pulled it out of socket again?
Yeah, it kept falling out. So when I got back, I immediately I got into therapy for it, and eventually had to go to surgery for it.
So when you got back to where?
When I got back to California from Iraq.
Okay.
I spent
So you were there so you got back there and you got out of service in 2009, so you got back to California, you got out of service in 2012.
Yes.
You got back to California and...
January 2009, I got back to California.
So what'd you do when you got back to Camp Pendleton?
I got back, I was at Miramar still when I first got back, and they knew I was going to be out and they wouldn't be deployable for a long time. So that's why they switched me over to Camp Pendleton, to a non-deployable unit. It's called MCTISA. It's a Marine Corps Tactical Systems Assessment Activity.
So what did you do there?
Basically, I tested and tested new equipment that would come in from different companies. Mm-hmm. We would hook them up to our current system, make sure everything worked. And so it was newer, updated radars and things like that, and different new programs. And we evaluated them and made sure that they all worked with the current system. And the Marine Corps then took our advice and decided which ones to buy and add to their current technologies.
Did you enjoy that work?
That was pretty good work. It was slow, but it was, it was good because I ended up having to do surgery 3 times for my shoulder. And actually I had to extend my contract for an entire year to finish up therapy for my shoulder. And
so did you have any buddies in Pendleton? Who were they?
When I left, I was a sergeant. I picked up, and there was Sergeant Klein, Sergeant Phillips, Sergeant Roboto. They were the leadership of my unit, right? And below us was Corporal Reeves, who just recently died, and I went to his funeral. Corporal Walburn, Lance Corporal Silva, and a couple others.
So what'd you do when you were not on duty?
Not on duty, we did a lot of going out into town, and San Diego was 30 minutes away. You just get on the highway and go right down to it.
So the weekends in San Diego?
Yeah, the weekends in San Diego, going to the beach, things like that. Going to get tacos near the border because it's really good down there.
So you stayed there you stayed for a year, but when you got back there, that was 2009. So you were there. You got out of service in 2012, right?
Yes, I was only supposed to have a 5-year contract from 2006 to 2011, but I ended up staying an extra year.
So, do you remember the day you got discharged? Walk us through as you got close to your discharge.
It's very odd because of the extension. I didn't have an end of service date anymore. I kept getting extended, and so I didn't know when I was going to leave. And finally, when the paperwork came through, I was very excited, and I didn't know it, but I had a retirement ceremony. So
you had a retirement ceremony?
I had a full retirement ceremony and everything. It was very interesting because I was medically retired.
Did your any family come out to be a part of that?
No, I didn't have enough time, and everyone's back here in Florida. So, except for I have a brother that was out there, but he was working and stuff, and I didn't really know about it. It was sort of a surprise for me.
So what was that day like?
It was very. It was a long time coming, and
I mean, so you got up that morning. You know what? You had an appointment to go someplace, and
yeah, it's basically going to work, and I knew I only had a few days left. I was doing my checkout list and everything, just expecting to be doing my checkout and turning all my gear and getting ready to leave. And then they called me into the back office, and everyone's gathered, and and they have me march in and salute and everything, and then they read off. They actually bought me it was like a 3-foot plaque, and had a a little write-up on it, and all my rank and everything is in there. It was really cool.
You still got it?
Yeah, it's hanging on my wall in my office.
Yeah.
My bedroom now.
Yeah. That's good. So, reflecting. So, what did you do when you got back to did you come immediately back to the Tampa Bay area?
I took a couple weeks and did a road trip, sort of, and actually went from California to see some friends in Colorado, then over to Wisconsin, see a buddy of mine who had just gotten out just a little bit before me, and then Chicago, another buddy, and then I drove all the way to New York and saw an old friend.
New York? Really?
Yes.
What city?
It was Alfred. Is a friend of mine. She's in college there.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to hang out with her for a bit. I actually had my dog with me on the road trip. It was just me and my dog, and we ended up staying in the dormitory. And my dog, we left for a minute to go get chow, and I came back, and the campus security was at the door with my dog, like, because she had been howling.
Oh my God.
She's a beagle, and so kind of got kicked out of the dorms.
So you're on a college campus?
I was on a college campus visiting my friend, yeah.
So it's the same dog you have now?
Yes.
So you bought the dog from California?
Yeah, I brought her from California.
Oh, so you had the dog when you were still at Pimbleton?
Yes, I got her a little bit after I got back from Iraq. My roommate at the time, he wanted a dog and picked her up, and then I told him that we could do it, but I get to name her.
Oh.
So I named her Bagel the Beagle, just to be cute. And I don't know, she's awesome. But he ended up going to Afghanistan, and when he came back, him and his fiance at the time, now wife, they got a different dog and said I could have Bagel since I took such good care of her while he was away, and they wanted to have their own dog.
So you took the dog.
Yeah.
You going up the dog.
Yeah.
Right. So the dog is still living today?
Yep.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yep.
So, so looking back over your entire military experience, from the time you first met that Marine Corps recruiter, talked you into going to Marine Corps, looking at the whole period of time, what are some of the lessons that you learned about life or about yourself?
I learned that it's a small world, honestly, especially in the Marine Corps. It's a very small world, and you can run into people. I ended up running into a drill instructor that I had, who was just the meanest, nastiest drill instructor ever, and I ran into him in the field, and he wanted to go get drinks and stuff like that, and he was really nice, and it was just it's pretty crazy. But and I also learned that it doesn't really matter if you don't like someone, that you may have to protect their life and things like that. So we're looking out for each other and taking care of the Marines around you is a big thing.
If you were recommending to a young man today to go serve his country, what would you say to him?
I would say the Marine Corps is a great place. It's big, it's a brotherhood, and they say it's the largest fraternity.
Really?
They nickname it, and then they even have a website where they put Greek letters up for USMC.
Really? So you still remember that brotherhood, that
Yes.
Marine Corps fraternity?
Once a Marine, always a Marine.
So you're happy, you're glad you, rather than going to the Air Force, you became a Marine?
I am. It was definitely a good experience,
Yeah.
and I definitely wouldn't trade it for the world. It was a good time.
Anything else you want to share about your story?
I think I'm good.
Huh?
I think that's it.
That's it?